Toke managed to throw Aisha into the stream with a well-executed shoulder throw, but Aisha did not try to do the same. Instead, as she landed in the water, she swiftly swept his legs out from under him, causing Toke to lose his balance and fall. It is not easy to counterattack immediately after being hit, so I was quite impressed by Aisha's athletic ability and quick judgment. I believe a bold person like her would make an excellent adventurer. It is a shame that she has spent her life working on a grape farm. Now, this daughter of a grape farming family sits on a rock, splashing her feet in the water. I feel so refreshed, Aisha muttered in satisfaction, brushing her damp hair back behind her ears. Do you not feel embarrassed, Aisha? Your clothes are soaked and sticking to your body, Flora asked cautiously. She sat beside her, just as wet. As Flora pointed out, the red dress Aisha wore was drenched, clinging tightly to her body. Unlike Flora, she was not wearing a white blouse, so her skin was not visible beneath her clothes. However, the wet fabric outlined her curves, emphasizing her figure. Water droplets glistened on her skin, complementing her glossy red hair and healthy, lightly tanned complexion. The sight was undeniably captivating. I do not particularly mind since my clothes did not become see-through. Unlike the blouse you are wearing, Aisha replied casually. Oh, right, Flora stammered. She might not mind, but it was difficult for us men to ignore. Honestly, I had no idea where to direct my gaze. I should hurry and give them towels so they can dry themselves. With that thought in mind, I stepped closer to hand them the towels. Even so, Flora, your legs are so fair and beautiful, Aisha remarked casually. My eyes naturally followed her words, shifting to Flora's legs. That is not true. Your legs are prettier and healthier, Flora replied quickly, shifting her legs together as if trying to escape my gaze. However, the way she moved only made her legs appear even more graceful and drew more attention. I quickly shook the thought away. It isn't polite to stare. Here, a towel, I said. Oh, thank you, Aisha replied with a bright smile. Thank you, Flora said, clutching the towel shyly against her chest. From Aisha's smile, I had a feeling she had started this conversation on purpose. I did not know what her intentions were, but I wished she would tease Toke instead. This was bad for my heart. Aldo, it is time to start fishing. Let's get going, Toke called, interrupting my thoughts. Since we had been playing in the water, no fish remained in the area. Even if some had been there before, they had likely been scared away by all the noise. All right, we will move to a new fishing spot. What about you two? I asked Flora and Aisha. We will catch up after we cool off a little longer, Aisha replied. Flora smiled and nodded in agreement. But Aisha, are you sure you will be fine? You are completely soaked, I asked. I appreciate your concern, but I will not catch a cold in this warm weather. I have worked in the vineyard many times under heavy rain, and I have never fallen ill. My body is quite strong, Aisha assured me with a wave of her hand. I was surprised to learn about the challenges grape farmers faced. It made me realize how physically tough Aisha was. Perhaps eating all those nutritious grapes contributed to her strength. All right, then, we will try to catch plenty before you two arrive, I said. We will be looking forward to it, Flora replied. Catch a lot and share some with us, Aisha added playfully. I picked up the fishing rods and buckets from the ground and followed Toke. So, where can we find a lot of fish? I asked. Let's see. This time of day, many fish swim downstream to feed on insects and water plants. There should be plenty in that area. Even if we do not try, we are bound to catch a lot. They will be swimming near the surface, making them easy to catch, Toke explained, pointing ahead. Following his lead, we headed downstream. Oh, another one, I exclaimed. Wow, how many have you caught now? Toke asked. 6, I replied. Damn, I only have 3, he grumbled. The stream's gentle current flowed downstream. Through the clear water, we could see several fish swimming around. The moss-covered rocks and aquatic plants seemed to attract them. Because of that, the fish frequently bit our bait. Although Toke knew where to find them, I still thought we were fortunate to encounter such a large school of fish. I could not waste this opportunity. This would be my dinner, and I needed to bring some back for Urgis as well. Oh, it is an ale, I exclaimed as I reeled in a fish. This fish is incredibly delicious when grilled with salt. I have eaten it many times, and I can confidently say that its white meat tastes the best when prepared this way. It is my favorite freshwater fish. As I imagined its flavor, my mouth watered. I reeled in my line and placed the fish into the bucket of water. If that is the case, then the entire school over there must be ill. Let's try fishing in that spot, I suggested. I carefully placed fresh bait on my hook and cast it slightly farther than my previous spot. With a small splash, the baited hook sank into the water, drifting toward the school of fish moving with the current. I remained patient, making small movements with my fishing rod to mimic the motions of live bait. The tranquil sound of flowing water relaxed my body. I took a deep breath, inhaling the fresh scents of moss, grass, and the river. Although catching fish was the main goal of fishing, I also found joy in simply immersing myself in nature. There was something soothing about it. I closed my eyes, letting myself become one with the environment. Just as I was beginning to feel at peace, I was snapped back to reality by a sudden tug on my fishing rod. The movement indicated that a fish had taken the bait. However, the rod in my hand still felt light. Not yet. It was not the right time to reel it in. I waited, remaining prepared to pull at the right moment. Now, at that instant, I tightened my grip and pulled sharply. The rod grew heavier as the fish fought against the hook. Water splashed around the surface as it struggled. Already. That was fast. Toke exclaimed in surprise. I continued pulling, determined not to let the fish escape. At the same time, the fish instinctively tried to flee toward the rocks. However, I did not give it a chance. I firmly controlled the rod and maintained my grip. When its movements weakened, I swiftly reeled it in with a final pull. Emerging from the water was an eel, its scales shimmering in greenish gray. Wow, that one is huge, Toke exclaimed. It was much larger than the usual 15-centimeter size, though still slightly smaller than 20 centimeters. However, for an eel, this was considered a sizable catch. It would be quite a satisfying meal. I carefully reached for the fish, ensuring it did not slip from my grasp. It would be frustrating if it escaped now. Although its squirming made me slightly hesitant, I managed to place it safely into the bucket. Phew, I let out a breath of relief, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Comparing it to the previous fish I caught, this one was certainly the biggest so far. Since I had invited Flora to join on short notice and borrowed these fishing rods from Urgis, it was only right to share this catch with his family. Toke, how is it going over there? I called out. I cannot catch anything after the third one, he replied in frustration. Maybe it is because of your grumpy face? I teased. What does that have to do with anything? I smirked. Maybe the fish sensed his energy and were avoiding him. Toke furrowed his brows and swung his fishing rod into the stream again. He reeled it in quickly, checking if the bait had been eaten or simply drifted away, then rebaited the hook. Meanwhile, I managed to catch 2 more eel fish. I started to feel slightly guilty for catching so many while Toke struggled, but at the same time, I could not afford to hold back. Competing for the highest catch was part of the fun of fishing. At that moment, Flora and Aisha approached, their hair flowing gently in the wind. How are things going? Flora asked as she held her hair down to keep it from blowing into her face. Her blouse had dried completely, making it no longer see-through. Though it was unfortunate, I kept that thought to myself. I have caught quite a few. 9 so far, I answered. 9 in such a short time? That is amazing. And this one here is huge. Flora peered into the bucket with an admiring smile. If she kept praising me like this, I might feel even more motivated. Did I feel like this when the beautiful guild receptionist praised me back in the day? Back then, I had not cared, but if Flora had been the receptionist, I might have gone out of my way to show off at the Adventurers Guild. I can tell how Toke is doing just by looking at his face, Aisha remarked, chuckling as she pointed at him. Toke scowled even harder. His fishing rod was not shaking from a fish biting. It was trembling with irritation. However, as if by some miracle, a fish took the bait just as he grumbled. Oh, I got one. His frustration vanished, replaced by excitement as he pulled his rod with renewed enthusiasm. Looks like a fish has taken the bait on Toke's end, I noted. Maybe he just caught a shoe or a piece of wood, Aisha joked. It looks like a fish to me, Flora replied. It would be too pitiful if it turned out to be a piece of wood. Toke's fishing rod bent as the fish resisted, splashing against the water's surface. From this distance, I could not see clearly, but I caught a glimpse of a large, pale-colored body. Judging by the struggle, this was a big one, possibly larger than the eel I had just caught. With a focused expression, Toke steadily pulled the fish closer. We watched in anticipation as ripples spread across the water. Then got it. With one final motion, he lifted his rod, and the fish broke through the surface. A long, white fish wriggled in the air. That is a shiragis, I exclaimed. This species had an eel-like, slimy appearance and moved in a snake-like manner. It was known for its rich, flavorful meat, making it especially delicious when fried. Oh, you did it, Toke. Congratulations, Flora added. Hee, thank you. Toke grinned, pleased with himself. Carefully, he unhooked the fish and placed it into his bucket. Aisha watched, her expression mischievous. It would have been more entertaining if the fish had slipped from your hands and flopped back into the river, she commented. You better not try to make that happen. Toke shot back, glaring at her. Well then, let's all eat together, I suggested. I thought you might say that, so I brought some salt with me, Toke announced, pulling out a small bottle of salt and wooden skewers from his pockets. I was a bit surprised by his preparedness, but it seemed he had thought ahead. Yeah, I am hungry. Let's cook them quickly and eat, Aisha said eagerly. You are not getting any, Toke snapped. That is fine. I would not ask you for any, anyway. I feel bad that you only caught 5 fish. I will ask Aldo since he caught much more, Aisha smirked. You little. Toke ground his teeth in frustration. Was she still holding a grudge from the water fight? Their banter was as sharp as ever. As they bickered, I began cleaning the fish in the stream. Flora approached me hesitantly. If it is all right, could you treat Aisha and me to a meal? She asked shyly. Oh, of course. I cannot eat all of this alone. Besides, I planned to share from the start, I reassured her. Thank you so much. I will help with the preparation, she said with a warm smile. Compared to Aisha and Toke's constant teasing, Flora's kindness felt especially soothing. After I finished cleaning the 5 ale I caught, and the 3 that Toke managed to reel in, everyone worked together to skewer the fish and season them with salt. What about the shiragis? Are we not eating that? Aisha asked. That one is mine. I will eat it at home, Toke replied bluntly as he built a simple stone fire pit and started a fire with flint. Cooking shiragis here would be too much trouble. The ale would be more than enough for us. The flames flickered and grew as Toke blew on the kindling. Once the fire was ready, we placed the skewered fish upright near the flames. I made a few final adjustments to the ale. Aldo, what are you doing? Toke asked. Oh, if you grill them with their mouths open, the moisture will escape more easily through the head. Also, if you remove the gallbladder near the gills, it reduces the bitter taste, I explained. Oh, I did not know that. That is useful to know. I do not like it when it tastes too bitter, Aisha admitted. I had no idea, Flora added. I felt slightly embarrassed at all the praise. I learned this from a fellow adventurer long ago, I said. It was Keel who had taught me this trick. He always seemed to know something about everything. Ever since I started living alone, I had come to appreciate his knowledge more than ever. Back then, I had not fully recognized how meticulous he was. If I meet him again, I would like to ask him about cooking, survival skills, and all sorts of useful knowledge. He did say he might visit Nordend. I looked forward to that day. The fire crackled as the fish slowly cooked. A rich, savory aroma filled the air, making our mouths water. The enticing aroma of the roasting ale fish filled the air, making everyone impatient. Can it cook any faster? Aisha finally voiced what we were all thinking. Just a little longer, Flora reassured, though her gaze remained fixed on the fish. As we endured the wait, a young girl's voice suddenly called out from behind us. There you are, Wani-chan. Turning around, I saw a girl with red hair tied into a side ponytail, wearing the same type of work clothes as Aisha. Oh, that's Aina-chan, right? Flora murmured. The name Aina had been mentioned a few times before. Considering she called Aisha Wani-chan and shared the same striking red hair, there was no doubt she was Aisha's younger sister. TCH, you're here already, Aisha muttered under her breath. You told me to wait until noon, but then you dumped all the work on me and went off to play. Aina stomped over to us. Judging by the time, it was well past noon. Aisha had completely disregarded her own deadline. Your Wani-chan is busy right now. Come back later. Aisha tried to wave her off. Don't treat me like a child. Come on, we still have work to do. The grape field is too big for me to handle alone. It seemed like Aisha's family had been the ones most inconvenienced by our outing. Realizing we were all watching with amused smiles, Aina straightened her posture and formally introduced herself. Ah, I'm sorry for disturbing you. I'm Aisha's younger sister, Aina. Unlike her older sister, she was polite and well-mannered. Hello, Aina-chan. Flora greeted her warmly. Hey there, Toke added casually. Aina then turned her curious gaze toward me, the only unfamiliar face. Nice to meet you. I'm Aldo. I moved to this village recently and work as a hunter. Let's get along. Yes. Nice to meet you, Aldo-san. Aina responded with a bright smile. She truly was nothing like her sister. It's just like she said, Aisha. You should head home. You still have work to do, Toke said smugly. He probably was not concerned about Aisha's family, but rather wanted a bigger share of the salt-grilled fish. Yes. Thank you, Toke-san. Now let's go home, one each on. Aina grabbed Aisha's sleeve. Wait. I'm not leaving yet. At least let me eat first. What do you mean, oh? Salt-grilled ale. Aina's eyes sparkled as she noticed the fish cooking over the fire. Her voice instantly turned cheerful. So she was a fan of salt-grilled ale, just like her sister. Hee hee, Aisha grinned. Ah. Aina blushed when Flora giggled at her reaction. I owe Aisha a lot, and there's still plenty of fish left. You can join us, too. Okay then. Itadakamasu. Aina sat down beside Aisha, clearly trying to contain her excitement. It's ready, Toke announced. Finally, Aisha exclaimed. Everyone's faces lit up as the golden brown ale finished cooking. I could not wait any longer and took a bite right away. The crispy skin had a savory, salty taste, while the white meat inside was tender and mild. The flavors blended perfectly, making my mouth water for more. Delicious. Salt-grilled ale is the best, I muttered in satisfaction. It's really good, isn't it? Flora said as she took small bites. Yeah, it's amazing, I replied. Toke was eating in large, eager bites, while Aisha and Aina sat quietly, fully focused on their food. They looked so alike while eating that we could not help but smile. After a few bites, I noticed a faint hint of bitterness from the fish's internal organs, but it was not overpowering. It's not as bitter as usual, Aina commented, finally noticing. Oh, I removed the gallbladder before grilling. The bitterness comes from the fluid inside it. If you take that part out, it reduces the bitterness, I explained. How I like it this way. Aina beamed before going back to eating. Aisha gave me a silent thumbs up. I returned the gesture. She could have just said thank you properly. Aldo, try using this, Toke said, handing me some goji berries. Oh, the sourness balances the fish's flavor nicely, I noted after squeezing some juice onto my fish. Right? Flora, do you want to try? Ah, thank you, she said as she took a few. I squeezed more goji berries onto my fish and took another bite. The tartness enhanced the fish's mild sweetness, making the saltiness less intense. It was dangerously delicious. I could eat forever like this. Flora tried the same and closed her eyes as she chewed, savoring the taste. Hey, what about me? Aisha whined. Yes, here you go. And you too, Aina, Toke said, passing the berries to them. Thank you, Aina said happily. It seemed the delicious food had lifted everyone's spirits. Even Toke, who had been grumbling earlier, was now in a good mood. We finished our meal in high spirits. After cleaning up, we all went our separate ways. I took the largest ale I caught and went to share it with Urgi-san. It had been a fun-filled day. I hoped we could do this again sometime. I know the Black Silver Party disbanded, but what happened to their leader, Aldred? In the distant kingdom of Abylonia, far west of Nordend, the king sat in his grand audience chamber, addressing a pressing concern. About that, we do not know his whereabouts, the guild master replied with a nervous sweat. This man was Barak, the highest authority in the kingdom's adventurers guild. Despite wearing formal clothing, his brawny frame made him look more like a seasoned warrior than an official. The king frowned. Elliot married into the Elfior family. Kurun is teaching at the Magic Academy, and Kiel is still within the kingdom. So how is it that we have no idea where Aldred is? Barak grimaced, but remained silent. He recalled when Kiel had visited him with a smile, announcing his retirement. I want to rest for a while after that battle with the dragon, Kiel had said. It had been an unexpected decision. Aldred had seemed particularly shaken after slaying the dragon. but Barak had assumed he was simply taking time to recover. Now, it seemed something was amiss. Aldred seemed troubled after the dragon battle. But does it not strike you as odd that he vanished without a trace? This was not part of the plan, the king muttered. Barak understood what the king meant. The slaying of a dragon was a monumental feat. Aldred and his party had become symbols of hope, heroes of the people. Aldred could have married into nobility or even been crowned king himself. With him present, the kingdom would have an advantage in diplomacy, offering his strength to other nations in times of crisis. But now, the leader of this legendary party was nowhere to be found. Is there truly no one who knows where he went? If no one has seen him, he has likely left the kingdom. The king scowled. Barak had pursued Keel, only to find that he had already disappeared. Aldred has not yet repaid his debt to this country. Find him. Use whatever means necessary, even my soldiers, if required. Understood. Barak bowed deeply, hiding his displeased expression. He knew nothing good would come from interfering in Aldred's chosen path. Now get out. Barak turned and left the chamber, the weight of the order pressing heavily upon him.